Hi all, welcome back to our English class. We were discussing the second unit and we completed the story Cinderella and the poem Woman Work. In Cinderella's life, a fairy helped her to change her future. And in the poem Woman Work, the woman seeks help from the nature. But in real life, can we expect such helps? Today, we are going to study a speech by Malala Yousafzai, who raised her voice for girls' rights and also for bringing about positive changes in the society. Have you heard about Malala Yousafzai? Here is a short description about Malala Yousafzai. Listen very carefully. Malala Yousafzai. Malala Yousafzai was born on 12th July 1997, known anonymously as Malala, is a Pakistani activist for female education and the youngest Nobel Prize laureate. She is known for human rights advocacy, especially the education of women and children in her native Sot Valley in Khyber, northwest Pakistan, where the local Pakistani Taliban had at times banned girls from attending school. Her advocacy has grown into an international movement, and according to former Pakistani Prime Minister Shahid Khan Abbasi, she has become the most prominent citizen of the country. Let's read the speech of Malala Yousafzai, which she delivered at the UN General Assembly. One child, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world. Respected elders and my dear brothers and sisters, today it is an honor for me to be speaking again after a long time. Being here with such honorable people is a great moment in my life. I don't know where to begin my speech. I don't know what people would be expecting me to say. But first of all, thank you God for whom we all are equal, and thank you to every person who has prayed for my first recovery and a new life. I cannot believe how much love people have shown me. I have received thousands of good wish cards and gifts from all over the world. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to the children whose innocent words encouraged me. Thank you to my elders whose prayers strengthened me. Dear brothers and sisters, do remember one thing. Malala Day is not my day. Today is the day of every woman, every boy and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights. There are hundreds of human rights activists and social workers who are not only speaking for human rights, but who are struggling to achieve their goals of education, peace and equality. Thousands of people have been killed by the terrorists and millions have been injured. I am just one of them. Dear sisters and brothers, we realize the importance of light when we see the darkness. We realize the importance of our voice when we are silenced. In the same way, when we were in Swat, the north of Pakistan, we realized the importance of pens and books when we saw the guns. The wise saying, "The pen is mightier than the sword," was true. The extremists are afraid of books and pens. The power of education frightens them. They are afraid of women. The power of the voice of women frightens them. Honorably Secretary General, peace is necessary for education. In many parts of the world, terrorism, wars and conflict stop children from going to schools. We are really tired of these wars. Women and children are suffering in many parts of the world in many ways. Many innocent and poor children are victims of child labor. Young girls have to do domestic child labor and are forced to get married at an early age. Poverty, ignorance, injustice, racism and the deprivation of basic rights are the main problems faced by both men and women. Dear fellows, Today I am focusing on women's rights and girls' education because they are suffering the most. There was a time when women social activists asked the men to stand up for their rights. But this time we will do it by ourselves. I am not telling men to step away from speaking for women's rights, rather I am focusing on women to be independent to fight for themselves. Dear sisters and brothers, now it's time to speak up. We call upon the world leaders that all the peace deals must protect women and children's rights. A deal that goes against the dignity of women and their rights is unacceptable. We call upon all governments to ensure free, compulsory education for every child all over the world. We call upon all governments to fight against terrorism and violence to protect children from brutality and harm. We call upon the developed nations to support the expansion of educational opportunities for girls in the developing world. We call upon all communities to be tolerant, to reject prejudices based on caste, creed, religion or gender, to ensure freedom and equality for women so that they can flourish. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. We call upon our sisters around the world to be brave, to embrace the strength within themselves and realize their full potential. Dear brothers and sisters, we want schools and education for every child's bright future. We will continue our journey to our destination of peace and education for everyone. No one can stop us. We will speak for our rights and we will bring change through our voice. We must believe in the power and the strength of our words. Our words can change the world. Because we are all together united for the cause of education. And if we want to achieve our goal, then let us empower ourselves with the weapon of knowledge and let us shield ourselves with the unity and togetherness. Dear brothers and sisters, we must not forget that millions of people are suffering from poverty, injustice and ignorance. We must not forget that millions of children are out of schools. We must not forget that our sisters and brothers are waiting for a bright, peaceful future. So let us wage a global struggle against illiteracy, poverty and terrorism, and let us pick up our books and pens. They are our most powerful weapons. One child, one teacher, one pen and one book can change the world. Education is the only solution. Education first. Hope you have listened to this speech very carefully, haven't you? Do you understand what is Malala sharing to us? Let me help you. Before that, my dear children, do you know what is Malala Day? Do you know what is Malala Day? The United Nations has declared 12th July as World Malala Day to honor the young activist Malala Yousafzai. Malala Day is commemorated the birthday of Malala Yousafzai to honor women and children's rights around the world. Malala said that Malala Day was not her day. That day was the day of every woman, every boy, and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights. There are hundreds of human rights activists and social workers who are not only speaking for human rights but who are struggling to achieve their goals of education, peace, and equality. Let me ask you a few questions from the speech. Are you ready to answer that questions? Here is my first question. According to Malala, what is necessary for education? According to Malala, what is necessary for education? Yes, peace. Peace is necessary for education. And here is the second question. What stop the children from going to schools? What stop the children from going to schools? Yes, the answer is right. Terrorism, wars, and conflicts stop children from going to schools. My third question. What are the main problems faced by both men and women? Yes. Poverty, ignorance, injustice, racism, and the deprivation of basic rights are the main problems faced by both men and women. I hope all of you have answered these three questions. Haven't you? Very good. Malala knows that girls and women are suffering the most. And because of that, she is focusing on women's rights and girls' education. Malala says that they call upon the world leaders that all the peace deals must protect women and children's rights. A deal that goes against the dignity of women and their rights is unacceptable. We call upon all governments to ensure free, compulsory education for every child all over the world. They, the people, belongs to Malala and Malala Fund. They call upon all governments to ensure free, compulsory education for every child all over the world. And they call upon all governments to fight against terrorism and violence, to protect children from brutality and harm. And they call upon the developed nations to support the expansion of educational opportunities for girls in the developing world. And they call upon the communities to be tolerant, to reject prejudices based on caste, creed, religion, or gender, to ensure freedom and equality for women so that they can flourish. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. Lala says that they cannot all succeed when half of them are held back. And they call upon their sisters around the world to be brave, to embrace the strength within themselves and realize their full potential. And finally, Malala calls all the leaders to wage a global struggle against illiteracy, poverty, and terrorism and pick up book and pens. Books and pens. According to Malala, one child, one teacher, one pen and one book can change the world. Okay, let's do an activity. Shall we? I'm going to show you a few sentences that followed by 3 statements. Select the most appropriate statement from it. Here is the first one. Malala Day is the day of. Option A, Malala herself. Option B, United Nations Organization. Option C, every woman, every boy and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights. It is the correct answer. Yes. Malala Day is the day of every woman, every boy and every girl who have raised their voice for their rights. The second one. According to Malala, one of our powerful weapons is option A, the sword, option B, the pen, and option C, the gun. Which is the correct answer? Yes. According to Malala, one of our powerful weapons is the pen. And the third one. Malala is focusing on women's rights and girls' education because option A, they are suffering the most. Option B, they are very powerful. Option C, they are the major group in the society. Did you get the answer? Yes, the answer is Malala is focusing on women's rights and girls' education because they are suffering the most. Option A is the correct statement. And the last one. Malala speaks, option A, for herself, option B, not for herself but for all boys and girls, and option C, for her country. Which one is the correct answer? Yes. Malala speaks not for herself but for all boys and girls. Option B is the correct answer. Okay, yes. This is all about the speech of Malala Yousafzai. I hope all of you have got an idea about this speech. I'm going to wind up. Thank you so much. Bye.